Welcome to Dr. Mensch, the radio show that takes a real, compassionate look at mental health from A to Z. Join child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Gil Lichtshine each week as we explore topics that matter: autism, ADHD, anxiety, depression, OCD, schizophrenia, behavioral challenges, neurodevelopmental disorders, and more. No stigma, no judgment. Just honest conversations, new therapies, breakthrough treatments, and real solutions for real people. Mental health is not a weakness. It's a treatable medical condition, and help is available. Join the conversation now by calling the studio at 888-994-4995, Studio A. This is Dr. Mensch, where hope and healing begin.
Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Gil Lichtshine, aka Dr. Mensch. I'm a board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist in Boca Raton, Florida. My office is at 7100 West Camino Real, Suite 404 in the beautiful city of Boca. And my phone number is 561-300-4052. Proudly wearing the World Baseball Classic jersey for Team Israel, although they got defeated handily today by the more powerful and star-studded Dominican Republic. I'm here today with a special guest, Andy Grossman, and we're going to talk a little bit, among things, about the powerful effects.
Shake my hand.
Oh.
Welcome me to the show.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for gracing yourself.
Oh, it's a
taking the
pleasure.
time out of your busy schedule.
Oh, listen, it's important to understand that what we do together is very helpful for me personally. And I'd like to share with your audience what kind of effects it has on my life currently and dealing with things that have happened in my past.
Okay. And what he's referring to is this called Spravato, which is an intranasal form of S-ketamine, without getting too overly complicated, but it's a form of ketamine, which maybe a lot of people think is like a party drug, but in fact, ketamine is a drug that has been around for 50 plus years. It was FDA approved in 1970 or 71 as an anesthetic drug, and it's still widely used as an anesthetic, especially in kids. And over the years has been shown to be very effective in treating depression, especially depression with suicidal ideation, post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic pain, and that despite what you may have heard in the media over these past few years, especially with the death of Matthew Perry, ketamine is a it's a very safe drug, and that when used in the therapeutic doses really is very well tolerated and does not have really serious or horrible or potentially lethal side effects. And this form of ketamine, or S-ketamine, the branded name Spravato, is actually FDA approved and got FDA approved use in 2019 to treat major depressive disorder and major depressive disorder with suicidal ideation. And at first, the FDA stated that this had to be used in patients who had failed, there's different definitions of what treatment-resistant depression is, but who have failed at least one trial of an antidepressant at a therapeutic dose, and that this had to be used along with the antidepressant. But I believe in the past year or year and a half, the FDA actually changed its guidelines, and now actually Spravato is indicated as sole therapy, so that someone doesn't have to be on an antidepressant in order to be considered to use Spravato. Now, a big advantage of this is that this is a very quick onset of action. This doesn't take weeks and weeks and weeks like more traditional antidepressants take, and so that's a big advantage where a patient could experience a rapid improvement in a matter of after just a few treatments. And the way this works is this is something that should be not done at home, but should be done under the care of a physician while a physician is monitoring the patient. The reason being is, even though the doses here that are used are clinical doses and not doses used to for recreational use, nonetheless there are still some concerns that it could cause changes in your pulse and your blood pressure, and could cause changes in kind of visual perception. So the expectation is this should be done under a doctor's supervision, and before starting or before administering, the FDA initially had required you to check a patient's blood pressure and pulse. They've actually changed it to now you just do a pulse oximetry reading, which measures a patient's pulse and their oxygen saturation level. You would do that right before you administer the first dose, and then after like 45 minutes after administration of the last dose. This is given in either 1, 2, or 3 sprays, depending on the individual. Typically, it's done 2 treatments a week for the first 4 weeks, and then after that, typically weekly. That could be tapered down to every other week. There's really no set parameters in terms of how long someone can do this. Spravato has been around since 2019. There's data now, at least from the manufacturer, that shows that even 6 years later, patients who continue to do this continuously for 6 years still report symptom improvement and tolerate this without any side effects.
I completely concur with that, Doc.
Now you have been doing this for quite some time.
Yes, it's been 2 years at least, maybe even more than that.
Actually, I'm going to say more like 4 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Time flies.
And you've been doing this weekly now. You've never experienced any side effects?
None whatsoever.
Quite honestly, in patients that I've done this, I really have never had anybody experience any dissociative effects where they seem like they're experiencing like they're having out-of-body experiences, which is what people like to experience when they do this type of drug recreationally. But again,
there are dissociative things that happen when taking Spravato. I am handicapped. I have a terrible spine situation, and the relief from pain I get while taking the Spravato is amazing. It makes it the highlight of the week because I suffer basically 24/7, and the only hour I get is Mondays at 1 usually with Dr. Lichtshine, and I look forward to it, and we even share going to a baseball game after. So I highly recommend for anybody suffering with any kind of physical pain that's chronic, if you want some relief, Spravato can give you that relief you're looking for.
Right, and it shows how ketamine as a whole is a pretty a drug that has wide range of therapeutic effects, and that if you just would listen to the media or the news, you would think ketamine is some sort of like terrible drug that people abuse it and die and this and that, but in reality, ketamine is a pretty safe drug, and I'll even extend that to MDMA or ecstasy and psilocybin. Again, you hear of ecstasy and people taking it and going bonkers or dying or this or that, but again, pure MDMA, when used at appropriate doses, is a very therapeutic drug in treating post-traumatic stress disorder and depression. The same thing with ketamine. Now, I wanted to...
Why don't we show them how we apply?
So I wanted to show how this is done. I've already administered a previous dose before the program started, checked his pulse oximetry reading, but Andrew gets 3 sprays.
Only my mother calls me Andrew.
Andy gets 3 sprays. Each canister it contains 28 milligrams of S-ketamine or Spravato. So one spray is 14 milligrams. The usual therapeutic dose is either 56 or 84 milligrams, which would mean either using 2 of these or 3 of these, and it comes in a box, and so the 84 milligram kit would have 3 of these. The 56 milligram kit would have 2 of these. And so you would administer a spray, one spray into each nostril, so 14 milligrams in each nostril. You wait about 5 minutes to let it absorb, and then administer the second spray, and then you administer the third spray 5 minutes after that. And then after the administration, you kind of watch the patient.
Let's show them how it's
and
done.
So here's I'm going to get up, and this is spray number 1, and this is spray number 2. Now these canisters are specifically marked that each pressing down administers only one spray, and there's a color-coded indicator here to let you know that the first spray went through, and then when you hit the second one, it goes from green to white, so you know you've administered both sprays. So this is a precisely dosed canister. There's no way that you'll over-administer or under-administer a dose to a patient. So this is kind of a self-designed, self-built-in safety measure.
So once administered, my pain starts to dissipate almost immediately. I am functionally handicapped. I can barely bend over. I have trouble walking. I'm 67 years old. I'm widowed, so I suffer from PTSD from the loss of my wife and partner, and have for years. The reason I know about ketamine, funny enough, is my son fell off the monkey bars in Central Park years ago. And when I got to the hospital with him, the surgeon came in and said they would have to reset his arm, the bone, under anesthesia. And he explained to me what ketamine was. And I was in the operating room when it was administered to my 2-year-old son, and it was remarkable. He completely was relieved. Well, he wasn't conscious because of the dose they gave him, but as he came out, he had no pain whatsoever, no remembrance of the pain, and he easily transitioned into healing, and it was a fantastic experience. So if it's safe enough for a 2-year-old,
that was about to say is that even in today's world where you're not going to want to give a drug to a kid that's toxic or dangerous, ketamine used as a readily used and widely used as an anesthetic in kids, to me that kind of indicates this is a pretty safe drug.
And it leaves the system very quickly,
right,
doesn't it?
And so ketamine in the intranasal form is what's FDA approved to treat major depression, but there is a lot of literature with the IV use of ketamine, similar to how it's used as an anesthetic. The only difference is that the dosing is different. The dosing to treat depressions is considered more sub-anesthetic doses. There's also literature in using ketamine in intramuscular, or giving the injection in a muscle, subcutaneous, kind of under the skin, kind of like when you inject insulin, or people who take Zepbound or Mounjaro, kind of the same way you take Mounjaro, you would administer ketamine. And there's also, sublingual, or these under the tongue troches that kind of dissolve. Now, even though you would be taking the same drug, the fact that it's being administered through the different routes can lead to different results. And I'm going to take a little brief commercial break, and I'll discuss the different routes when we return.
What happens when the mind of a healer crosses over into the darkness of the human soul? From authors David Icovetti, Dr. Gil Lichtshine, and Yolanda DeLuca comes a chilling psychological thriller, Dr. Mensch, A Prescription for Evil. This gripping novel follows a respected Boca Raton psychiatrist who secretly descends into madness, transforming into a modern-day king of the underworld. Inspired by true events and Dr. Gil's childhood connection to a mob family, this story blurs the line between sanity and evil, genius and destruction. Unforgettable, disturbing, impossible to put down. Get your copy today on Amazon.com. Dr. Mensch, A Prescription for Evil, a 2020 psychological crime thriller. You're listening to Dr. Mensch with child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Gil Lichtshine. For a copy of his powerful new book, Dr. Mensch's Prescription for Evil, visit Amazon.com. For more information or to schedule a consultation, contact Dr. Gil directly at 561-300-4052 or visit docgil.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Mensch, aka Dr. Gil Lichtshine. I do want to preface, with regards to ketamine, that this is something that should be done not at home, not by a patient unsupervised. That's what happened to Matthew Perry, and that may be one of the reasons that led to his death. He was doing it at home. Yes, he was probably also doing other drugs, and he was in a hot tub and drinking, and it was probably not a good combination, but he was doing it at home unsupervised. This is something that has to be done under a physician like myself supervision. This is not something that I prescribe to a patient and tell, hey, Andy, you go to Publix or CVS and pick it up. In fact, medicine like this is only available at specialized pharmacies that have registered with the FDA REMS program, and then the pharmacy will actually deliver the medication to the physician to his office. So this is not something where I send in an electronic prescription for Andy Grossman, go to Publix, pick it up. So I just want to make that aware. This is not something that, it's not like taking Prozac where you go to CVS and take a Prozac a day. This is very different. This is under a doctor's supervision, under a doctor's observations and monitoring. And again, the person who administers it should be a physician, nurse practitioner,
should be a psychiatrist.
Predominantly, right. Part of the issue too, like there are some ketamine clinics that patients go to get for depression, and the physicians there are either like anesthesiologists, internists. Again, I'm not knocking on them, but it's one thing if you're an anesthesiologist and you have patients who are seeking ketamine therapy, that's for chronic pain. It shouldn't be for depression.
You need to be able to communicate
right.
with the person
Correct.
who's ingested the ketamine, because there are things that will happen and will come out, which does have an impact on your mental well-being.
Correct.
I started coming to Gil during COVID. I was a single man. I had just moved down from New York in December of 2019, and I'm all alone, and COVID breaks out. I'm isolated. I lost my wife to cancer. There was...
Right, your kids don't live here.
My kids don't live down here. They were in school. I couldn't stay in our home. It was too upsetting mentally. So I escaped. Especially the winters, sitting home in a dark, cold home was not for me.
And then think about and then once COVID hit, imagine staying in New
so
York.
I moved down, and during the COVID period, I got in touch with Dr. Lichtshine, and he explained to me the reactions and the interactions I would have with the drug. And I said, I'm willing to take it. I'd like to give it a try. I am a Prozac taker and have been since 1995. And because of that, the level of dosage I had in Prozac wasn't going to go any higher. And I still felt depressed. I have to admit, I was afraid. I didn't know what the rest of my life was going to look like. I was alone. I was scared. And through ketamine, I've been able to open up, not only move physically, which it dramatically aids, but also mentally. I've become a happier person because of it. And I've also made a very good friend from ketamine. Gil and I interact often, not just on the TV show, although we're paid a lot of money to do this. It's something. I'm a former fashion executive. I work with, I'll give you first names, Calvin, Ralph, Giorgio, Liz, although Claiborne's not really a designer. Yes, she is. I'm sorry. So I spent my whole life in fashion, which is an up and down business, as everybody knows. Change is constant. And you can go through, you have a bad style. It's a depressive moment. You interact with retailers when your merchandise isn't selling. It's a depressive moment. So the Prozac helped that. But beyond the day-to-day activities of a normal human being, I think that the ketamine interaction goes deeper and allows you to think freer, right? And release any kind of emotional tumult you may have. And the experience is an awakening. It really is. And I'm not here as a salesman. I'm not here anything other than a patient of Dr. Lichtshine and user of Spravato. It really works. For me, it's been a miracle.
Well, again, how he describes it kind of echoes like these like new, they're not really new drugs, but you want to call them psychedelics, whatever term you want to use, but they use the word empathogens, kind of to explain or describe that, what kind of like what Andy was saying and what the impact ketamine has had on him in terms of like emotions and kind of reaching deep into his mind. But again, ketamine, psilocybin, MDMA, DMT or ayahuasca, even LSD. I mean, these drugs that, again, people think of, these are party drugs and to get, high and trip. Yeah, I'm not denying that, but they have some broad, therapeutic and like mind-opening effects that, kind of transcend just simply, okay, I just want to take LSD so I can have a nice trip. I mean, when you're doing it because you're, dealing with like chronic debilitating depression or PTSD or anxiety or whatever it may be, these drugs, ketamine and these other psychedelics, can have really profound kind of life-altering effects.
I 100% agree. Therapeutically, I have released myself from pain I have suffered throughout my career. I've released the pain of my wife's passing. And this is important because it's hard. I mean, everybody has stuff. There's stuff just put down and suppressed. And with the right therapist and Spravato, it can lead to a much more enjoyable future because the weight of the past can be lifted from your shoulders.
That's well put.
Thank you.
So again, people ask me like, well, what does this, medicine do? And I could explain the pharmacologic, mechanisms, but I think it's more than just that. It's the effects. I call it it's a neuroplastic type of drug where it kind of, the brain's a resilient organ.
I think you should use the word elasticity.
Well, neuroplasticity is kind of like elasticity. So the brain's a very resilient organ that kind of learns, keeps learning, and medicine like ketamine kind of facilitates, the brain kind of learning and relearning and kind of allowing it to, become stronger. I think that kind of plays a role in, the therapeutic effects of these drugs. It's more than just simply, okay, it makes you happier or makes you more motivated or doesn't make you cry or this or that.
It is motivating. The motivation part comes with the ability to release the tension that you have and you've been withholding. It allows for that release without the pain that you think comes with it.
That goes with, that's like kind of the neuroplastic or neuroelastic effects of ketamine and other psychedelics.
Yeah, so again, people of my age, if you've never experienced real therapy and are a little depressed, the combination of seeing a psychiatrist and him writing prescriptions for Spravato once a week, or whatever the dose is determined, can be very helpful.
And from Andy's own experience doing this for now years. Again, you're not going to make conclusion from one case, but my take on Spravato being safe, and that it's the effects, it's very durable, and that we're not doing it twice a week, we're doing it once a week, and it continues to have real durable and potent life-changing effect on him 4 or 5 years later. And
Plus, anticipatory. I look forward to the next session. I relish the chance to do it again. So it's really something that gives me a reason to keep going down this road. And I don't want it to stop. So,
and then the other thing about, you're giving somebody some, drug, it has a high abuse potential, you're going to make someone into a drug addict, and I get that all the time. And
absolutely not.
That's the furthest thing. I hear that all the time when I prescribe medicines like Adderall or Xanax, that you're going to make someone a drug addict. Okay, there are always exceptions, but this is a very safe, effective drug. And if someone's out there suffering from severe debilitating depression and not getting better, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but this is something that you should think about or consider. And on that note, I want to thank Andy for coming today. And
thank you, Doctor. I'm glad I got the chance to share our experiences
your
together.
Experience. And this is Dr. Gil Lichtshine, aka Dr. Mensch, signing off for another exciting episode. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you for joining us for Dr. Mensch with Dr. Gil Lichtshine, helping you navigate the world of mental health with clarity and care. If you or someone you love needs support, you're not alone. Treatment works and recovery is possible. To schedule a consultation or discuss non-medication therapies, personalized treatment plans, or psychiatric care, contact Dr. Gil directly at 561-300-4052 or visit docgil.com. You can catch us each week on South Florida Oldies Radio and streaming across all social platforms. Until next time.